Hi, I'm Scott Flowers with Cloud Ninjas. Today we're here to talk about the HPE ProLiant BL460c Gen9 server. In this video, we're going to specifically focus on memory. Let's get going. Well, hey, thanks for stopping by today to learn a little bit more about the HPE ProLiant BL460c Gen9 server. Do us a favor, find anything that helps you in this video, click that like and smash that subscribe. All right, let's hop in. This video will be specifically dedicated to memory. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go over the different speeds, the different sizes, the different types that you can use, and then at the end, we're gonna show you how to physically install them. So let's just go ahead and hop into the good stuff. So what speeds can you use? You can use 2133, 2400, or 2666, and 2666 is the max overall speed, but just because you are installing 2666 doesn't mean that the DIMMs will actually run or operate at 2666. You need to check out what processor you have inside, because depending on the processor you have, it might go ahead and clock it down right away because it can only go up to 2133 or 2400. So that's the first thing you need to check. And then if you're maxing it out and you're completely installing DIMMs in every single slot, you're going to have a potential of even downclocking it a little bit more, because sometimes when you fill up all the channels, it'll go down a little bit more. So if you're not sure about what speed you're going to get, let us know what processor you have and how many you're planning on putting in, and our sales team can definitely help you out. The other thing I did want to note is that 2933 and 3200 are not compatible. Even if you install them, they will not downclock, they just won't function. So you do need to make sure that you get 2133, 2400, or 2666. Those are your choices. So what sizes can we use? Well, you can use a 4 gig, an 8 gig, a 16 gig, a 32 gig, a 64 gig, or all the way up to 128 gigs, but there's a catch with 128 gigs, and that brings us to what type of modules are compatible with the BL460c Gen9 server. Well, you have ECC Registered, known as an RDIMM, and you have Load Reduced, known as an LRDIMM. With ECC Registered, you can max out at 1 terabyte using 1664 gigabytes at 2666 speed, whereas with an LRDIMM, you can max out at 2 terabytes using 1628 gigabytes at 2666, and that's the key that we wanted to point out, is that you do need to have an LRDIMM to use 128 gigabyte DIMMs, and that is the max that you can get. All right, so now we know more about the speeds, the sizes, the types. Let's show you how to physically install them, but before we do, I'm gonna grab my ESD gear and be right back. All right, I have my ESD gear on. We are safe to work on our machine. All we're gonna need for this upgrade is the modules themselves. There are no tools that will be needed. So we're gonna push the button on hood release, and we're just going to pull this back, and we'll be able to lift up our top. I did want to note that right here there is a memory population guide, so this is also helpful. We're going to show you how to do it, but that is very helpful. And the other thing I wanted to note is that on the 2 air baffles themselves, or the air shrouds, the channels or the DIMM slots are labeled. So this is also very helpful, because this will tell you which slots to put everything in. All right, so the first thing we need to do is remove our cable right here. So we're just going to push this in and then lift this up. Okay. Once this disconnects, we can remove our air baffle or our air shroud, and I'm going to actually take this cable out right here, and we'll rerun it at the end. I like to take my air baffle and put it right here so that everything is still labeled. So we can take this and put it right here, and it's just like a helpful guide. So one of the things that is different about HPE is you might think, hey, I put the modules in slot 1, then slot 2, then slot 3. That's not really how it works. They do it in the alpha order, so it's going to be by the alphabet. So it's going to be your first slot right here, which is 1A. That'll be the first DIMM slot you put in, but then the next DIMM slot is going to be 3B, and then the next DIMM slot is going to be 8C down here, and that's a little confusing for some people, right? Then it's going to go to 6D, and then if you had 2 CPUs installed, you're going to actually swing around over here, and you're going to go by the same alpha order, and it's going to be A1, 3B, you're going to come up here, and it's going to be 8C, 6D. So those would be the first 8 slots that you would put them in, assuming that you have 2 CPUs. If you only have 1, then you would just put 8 in all 8. If you only had 4, you'd put them in the first 4 whites that we just mentioned. But that is the order that we're going to put them in. So let's go ahead and show you how to physically do it, and we're going to show you a couple of tips and tricks along the way. So one of the things that I always like to highlight, on the DIMM slot itself, there's a notch. This notch is known as a key. This key is not perfectly centered, and because of that, you do need to make sure you line it up properly. It's very easy to get in a good groove and put it the wrong way, and then the next thing you know, you've busted the leads or you've damaged a DIMM slot. You might have to replace the motherboard. Neither of these are situations you want to run into, so it's one of the things I always just say to be careful about. And then the other thing is I like to pop open all of my tabs in advance. Just makes everything a little bit easier to install. So we're just going to go ahead and pop everything open, and we'll go ahead and start. So first things first, make sure we have it lined properly, and we're going to go over here to A1. You want to hear these 2 clicks? And those 2 clicks are the tabs on the side hooking and getting a good firm connection. If this is out even just a little bit like that, that'll make it, do a little more. Like that right there will make it where it's not connected and not registering. So we see that all the time. It'll be a very common user error where someone thinks that they have a bad DIMM, and it's just that one of their modules isn't fully installed, and it can even throw off the whole channel and tell you that you have 2 DIMMs that are bad. So that's one of the things we always tell people is to rotate your RAM around, and most of the time you will fix the problem, or at least you will identify is it a bad DIMM or a bad DIMM slot. Okay, so now we're going to swing over here, and this will be our 3rd slot that we're going to install into, which is the C slot, and then we're going to D. So again, these would be the first 4, and if you had 2 CPUs, we're going to come over here. So we're going to go ahead and pop everything open. And if you had 1 CPU, this is where you would start to install into the blacks, but most people will be running with 2 CPUs, so we're going to use that scenario. So we're going to come over here, and we're going to start with slot. Pop these open. And we're going to start with slot A over here. Again, make sure you have it lined up properly, and then just click, click, make sure you have a firm connection. Okay, so if you were installing 8, this would be the way that you would do it. Now, if you're installing more, you're going to start back over here and continue in the order by the alphabet. For the sake of everyone's time, we're going to fast forward and fill this bad boy all the way up. All right, so now we have put in a terabyte of RAM. That was 1664 gigs that we put in here. And again, if you wanted to, you could put in 2 terabytes using 128 gigabyte DIMMs. One of the things I always tell people at the very end, double check all of your tabs. Nothing is jutting out, because if it's just sticking out a little bit, it could end up being an issue as far as the DIMM not fully connected. Now we're going to put our cable back in. Actually, you know what? We need to put our air baffles on first. Hello. So let's go ahead and slide our air baffles back on. And then we need to run our cable here. And this will just be a nice, easy, just kind of gently shove it in and weave it around. And then we're just going to pop this back in and make sure that this is firmly connected. And we've done it. We successfully upgraded the RAM on our BL460c Gen 9 server. Do us a favor, if you made it this far, click that like, smash that subscribe. And if you're looking for any custom built servers or upgrades, we do new, we do used, we do HPE, Dell, Supermicro, IBM, Cisco, and we do custom build servers. So please email our sales team at sales@cloudninjas.com. That's sales@cloudninjas.com. Thanks for stopping by, guys. Take care.